I think we're gonna have it in the basement, but I want to do an episode of the podcast that's...
brought it in.
Yeah.
Recorded it?
Yeah.
Oh, can I have my seltzer closer?
Yeah. So I got my first CD player in 1994. The first two CDs that I got were TLC's Crazy Sexy Cool, and of course, Prince the Hits Volume 2. Why Volume 2, you ask? Well, that was the one that had Little Red Corvette on it, obviously. We got our first computer connected to the internet when I was in the 5th grade. We got our first to the internet when we got our 5th grade. We also got a piano around the same time. Which is why I never got very good at piano. My sister downloaded Napster whenever it was that we finally heard about it in New Hampshire. I'm not sure what I first downloaded, but it was probably like a Blink-182 live bootleg. In middle school, I discovered instead of actually doing a real, well-researched project, instead I could just record a song about the topic on a tape recorder like this one and get a decent grade. And later I found I could get slightly better grades if I made a video instead. My first video camera was one of those shoulder-mounted VHS things, and I broke it shooting a parody of the Blair Witch Project. Once I had my next camera, I started making skate videos with my friends. Then when I found out about videos like CKY2K and other proto-jackass type stuff, we were really off to the races. I edited videos by connecting two VCRs to each other and dubbing back and forth. After a while, I got pretty clever, and I figured out I could splice in an audio track by pulling one of the RCA cords and connecting it instead to my new DVD player. I edited my videos that way for years, and then in high school when I started doing a sketch comedy show and I learned that I could edit video with a computer program, I was actually pretty suspicious of it. I thought, there's no way that this thing can do everything I can do with my 2 VCR system. And in some ways I was right. My work did change as a result of the change of technology. On balance, it got a lot better, but it also lost something, which happens every time technology changes. That is certainly something that every generation lives through, by the way. I mean, the details are different, but the impact is the same. If you ask your grandfather right now, he's gonna be like, oh yeah, dude, when I was 17, we switched from coal-powered bikes to steam-powered bikes, and I was like, what? And then also, as soon as I got really serious about collecting sheet music, the fucking phonograph came out, totally screwed up all my shit. Welcome to the last podcast. I'm your host, Zach Little, and this episode is about technology. So when I was 14 or 15 years old, my uncles, Todd and Duncan, entrusted me with their 4-track recorder from when they were in a band.
For tomorrow, but Iran's chief delegate says that too much pressure on his country.
And I just recently found the cassettes from my recording sessions in those days. Now, because of the way a 4-track recorder works, when I play these tapes back on my cassette player, some of them are backwards. And I could reverse it and reassemble the parts, but it's more fun this way. All the music in today's episode is going to come from those tapes, no matter how embarrassing it gets.
Your hat is what you were wearing in the last Portsmouth pizza video.
Yes.
And when I was watching it, I thought, is there a podcast that talks about... Because there's lots of food podcasts, I think it's like Doughboys, apparently. I just heard about the fact that this thing exists called Doughboys.
Yeah.
And it's two guys who just go to restaurants like TGI Fridays or Applebee's, and they just talk about their experience with those places. But there is no pizza podcast.
Curious. Isn't it funny how there's no...
There are gaps. There are weird gaps like that. There are weird gaps like where TV show podcasts don't exist that I think would have. Like there's no Parks and Rec podcast, which I find
curious.
Very strange.
Yeah. They're probably waiting a little while. That's all. They're waiting for Parks and Recreation to solidify in the public consciousness, and then go back and re-examine it. It's still kind of a live organism culturally, so you have to wait for rigor mortis to set in.
Yeah. The internet is known for its patience.
I was gonna go to the dump a couple days ago, so I filled my car up with scrap metal, and then I was late for work. Dump's only open 3 days a week in Rollinsford, so this is what my car has sounded like as I've been driving for 5 days. I'm on my way to a funeral right now. Just driving a car that sounds like when I pull up to the funeral, the wheels and the doors are all gonna fall off. The car is fine, I'm saying that's just what it sounds like. If I try to trace the origin of how I started to know you on the internet, I don't know. I come up short.
Yeah, I have no idea. Well, I know how I found you, I think. I used to watch the Microwave Show, like, in high school, probably.
Okay, right.
Yeah, that was a fucking long time ago. And, gosh, and then I followed Jory when he made I think he made his own channel eventually, like, years after the Microwave Show or whatever. I think during it, maybe towards the end of it. And then I found the Angry Films On series.
Films On, yeah.
Yeah, that's where I started watching, was that series. The 4-panel videos. I remember them pretty well.
I still think about the fact I deliberately don't watch that. I don't go back and watch it because I know as soon as I do I'm gonna take it all off the internet.
Yeah, I have a lot of videos like that, and I have done them pretty much every time I go back and check. Since you get to you and I both have like decent libraries of videos on YouTube, like in the hundreds at least, I think. And yeah, it's easy to like go back and like this. Every time I go back, I will find at least a video that I'm gonna delete.
I'm like that with everything now. I've gone from being the person who wanted to leave like a big footprint, like I will be immortal on the internet.
Me too, for sure.
To like just trying to draw it all down. When I just found out that Blogger has like a revert to draft feature. Oh my god, that took up like 2 hours of my day, just like sucking back like years of writing. Like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, is Blogger still a Google thing? So, like,
yes.
It would have been beneficial then just to, like, okay, let's have this not attached to my Google account anymore.
Yeah. Well, and I've changed URLs before, too, because if you Google my name, the first thing you come across is the Twilight blog. Which I enjoyed writing, and I think a lot of it is very funny, but at the same time, it's so context-dependent that it's very easy for someone to read it and come away with a very wrong impression. And
sure.
So,
yeah, I think there's the requirement of like knowing who you are and what you're like, I think, for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, I mean, that's not a huge requirement, honestly. That's who's reading anyway, probably.
I suppose, but I know how little effort a lot of people put into what they look at on the internet and how little they think about it.
Sure.
So I try to have the first few things they see be user proof,
Yeah, absolutely.
Siri, what happened to the internet? How did this thing that connected the whole world in conversation become this place where the conversation's so dumb and angry? How could a place where complete world knowledge is contained become a place where 90% of what's on there is made up bullshit to get attention? Could it really be so simple as, the internet revealed our true nature? Is there a way maybe we could pin this on the internet? It's not the nature of man, but the nature of the technology? I don't know, Siri, because when you go down that road, you think about the idea that it's so easy to just post anonymous hate from behind a screen, but when we got the technology to start seeing who was behind those screens, like webcams, most people's first thought was, I gotta show my dick to this thing. Siri, is this becoming too much like an Allen Ginsberg poem? Say something.
Hello.
Are you still writing an ethnography of YouTube?
I wrote it. It was for a class, so I wrote it and I submitted it. Actually, tomorrow I'm going to find out what I got on it.
Oh.
Not planning for the best. Only because I procrastinated on it and then I got really sick. And I was at Playlist Live and everything just kind of crumbled around me. And so I had to finish it. I had to finish it and turn it in. So
when you're conducting an ethnography of YouTube, can you use going to Playlist Live as like a tax write-off because like you're doing field research?
No. If I was being like given money by a scholarship or something, I don't know, maybe.
Was there anything in particular that you found that intrigued you in your when you try to take internet-y things like YouTube and put them into an academic context? Do you feel like it works, or did you sometimes feel like, I mean, I went to school for political science, so I know a lot about taking information and pretending it fits in an academic framework, because that's all political scientists do.
Right.
So did it work, or did it not work?
Well, there's been a lot of research on internet communities, which was where I sort of started. Obviously, when you're doing any kind of research, you start with already written research that you read. And there actually has been a lot written on it, but not a lot on YouTube. And so that was a hard part for me. But what I personally, like, what going into it, I had an idea about what would come out of it. So my research questions were, does the YouTube community, how does that community, which I perceive as the researcher, define itself, and whether or not they see themselves as having culture. And then I wanted them to give me examples of what they perceive their culture on YouTube to be, or what culture is on YouTube. One of the key words that I was trying to get them to define as well was heritage, because the class that I actually wrote the paper for was globalization, heritage, globalization, and development class. So I had to tie in those key themes to my research. So I used heritage and the developments of YouTube as a site and how that influenced the culture.
I am sure that like 90% of the research that you can find on the internet, it's gotta be about like shitty message boards from the 90s, right? Like, 'cause
yeah.
I think that was probably where it started, and then it's also where there's like existing and kind of like dead data that people can like pick through, and everything else is like so active and changing and everything. But yeah, I can't imagine how often you probably had to read about like Jenny Cam, like other like 90s.
What I read, actually what gave me the idea to do my paper on this topic, because I could have chosen like done a heritage study on Chinatown in London. Like, that's what most students did. They picked an actual site. But I read a paper about the Second Life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was actually written by my professor. And that's what kind of gave me the idea, because at that moment before I read it, I wasn't thinking beyond like tangible heritage. I needed to go beyond into that intangible heritage and where that develops.
Oh, if your professor wrote a paper about Second Life and you wrote one about YouTube, I think you're going to get a good grade.
Yeah, but the thing is,
he's
grading it.
Oh,
Our
it's a
TA was grading it, but I do know the TA, so it isn't like some random guy.
Well, good luck.
Yeah, thank you. I'll find out tomorrow. I'll let you know.
Okay, cool.
Or maybe I won't, depending.
If I hear nothing, I'll assume the best. I'll
Great,
assume
good.
it was an A++.
That's why I wanted you to go with that, yeah. They actually grade differently here.
Oh, what do they grade?
In the UK. So they don't give letter grades. They give
an A is called a lorry.
No. They give
B has a OU in the way it's spelled somehow.
Of course, like all words that are in English here.
And then the C doesn't brush its teeth very much. Okay, now we've run out of all the British jokes I know.
Oh, I could probably, I'd have to make a list. I could throw them out amongst this podcast for the rest of the night.
You've lived overseas for long enough now. When you watch like shows like A Bit of Fry and Laurie, is it funny?
I don't watch TV here, actually.
Okay.
So I don't even, I know some of they love reality shows here. So I know the reality shows because my roommates talk about them a lot. So I don't have a TV. We don't have a TV in our flat, so I watch Game of Thrones illegally.
So you were saying the grades are different.
Yeah, so you normally, if you get an 80, which to us is like a B-ish, that's like a really good grade.
Oh, that's because it's measured in kilograms, right? Oh, they keep coming.
Yeah, it's there. So an 80 is a really good grade. If you get in the 60s, that's like a B. Mm-hmm. So you're doing a good job. A 50 in the 50s, that's a pass. So it's like a C. And if you get below a 50, you've basically, most classes only have one paper, so you failed class.
It's the shittiest possible version of the kind of new American satire, which is that the way of doing satire now is to skirt so close to the line of what's real and what's fake. You know, what was the website? There was a website called Christwire that was basically like a fake religious conservative blog.
What?
And even like Rachel Maddow one time reported a story based on an article from Christwire. And the thing is, they basically just aped the voice of angry conservatives so well that people thought it was real. And the thing is, if you're trying to do satire and everyone thinks you're doing it real, then you're doing satire wrong, you know?
Oh, yeah.
If your intent is not clear, if you're basically just doing an impression of the people that you're saying you're satirizing, first of all, you're not doing a good job. And second of all, maybe you actually just want to be those people.
Yeah.
You know? Maybe you actually just feel this way. In the book that somebody writes in 10 or 11 years, in Canada, obviously, because President Trump will have outlawed publishing, but like when they write the book about what the hell happened to American humor, where did we totally lose the thread?
It ate itself.
Yeah, and I mean, you can blame a lot of things. You can blame the fact that the world is too extreme for satire to work anymore. You can blame the fact that like absurdism on Twitter and stuff has become so extreme that no one who even does it knows what they're doing anymore. There's a lot of factors.
Yeah.
But and regardless of the factor, there are certainly a fuck of a lot of case studies. So if anybody wants to start writing that book, you know, it's like you can pre-write the obituary.
Because it's so murky now and we don't know what anyone means when it comes to like their own style of humor, I've had to unfollow people on Twitter because they're sort of hiding behind too many layers of protective snideness.
Yeah. The time in which I could be a person with a lot of followers on Twitter is already over. You know, somebody already poured cement into the works of that social network.
Sure. Yeah.
But Tumblr was still active for a while. Now that one's locked up too. Now I've given up on the idea of any kind of social media reach. You know.
Yeah, that's fair. I've been kind of like not trying as hard, but it's really freeing too. You can just use it as it's intended. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have to be a personality right now. I can just chill on this website.
That is weird when you reach that conclusion where you're like, oh, actually, there is a way that normal people are using social networks and stuff, and I could try to do that a little bit.
Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, it's
I haven't
weird.
been for years, but why not?
I find that I almost don't use anything the way it's supposed to be used.
Sure.
Did you eat that whole pig ear already? So there are instruments of creation. And one thing I was trying to suggest with all that VCR talk earlier was that the instruments of creation, the tools, shape some aspect of the thing that's created itself. I mean, even something as simple as the fact that you write differently on a notepad than you do on a word processor on a computer. But that's not the be-all and end-all for the technology creativity dynamic, because there are also accidental tools of creation. Think about how, whatever it was, they were trying to invent better pancake batter and they accidentally invented penicillin. Some tools are not used the way they were intended to be. This happened recently when my wife Christy invented a new form of music. She was flirting with the idea of sleeping to white noise at night. She thought it might help us relax. We quickly found that it just unsettled us, but she downloaded this app, and the app had different white noise tracks you could play. Spring rain, Tibetan monks, wind chimes, lullabies. But a weird thing about the app was it allowed you to layer white noise tracks over each other, and maybe lullaby plus spring rain is totally pleasant, but the white noise mashups that Christy ended up creating, well, just imagine trying to fall asleep to this. But, put a beat behind that, send it to Kanye West, who knows what might happen. White noise mashups, a new kind of music, trademark 2016, Christy Little. Christy Little in the last podcast LLC take no responsibility for any nightmares you may have as a result of listening to that track. Especially just that lullaby part, holy crap.
I think especially because, it's so blank, without any instrumentation, even the littlest amount, and then also, you hear the saliva moving around in her mouth.
I was gonna say, you can hear the mouth noises. But also, what adult falls asleep listening to this? Or what kind of heartless adult puts this on for their
baby?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it makes me feel freaky even thinking about it. I humbly submit my own white noise track here. This is called Drying Lots of Clothes with Buttons. I actually think maybe that's a remix track. I think that's Drying Clothes with Buttons mixed with Loose Quarter. And if maybe you're shouting at your phone right now like, Zach, this whole podcast is a white noise track. Well, good burn.
I don't usually do this, but go ahead and break them off with a piece of that remix.
Yeah, remix, yeah.
Girl, I'm not trying to be rude, but hey, pretty girl, I'm feeling you. The way you do the things you do remind me I'm a Lexus Coupe. That's why I'm all up in your grill trying to get you to a hotel. You must be a football coach. Wait, you gotta play in the field, so baby, give me that. Yeah, give me that. But in her head, my bro, bouncing on 24s. What do you say on the radio? It's the remix edition, hot and fresh out the kitchen. I'm a rolling that body that. Sipping on coke and rum, I'm like, so what, I'm drunk. It's a freaking weekend, baby, but they're having some fun, yeah.
So I was just upstairs looking at my DVD cabinet and thinking about how great it is that DVD collections have become sort of this accidental time capsule of our taste from the aughts. The DVD purchasing era, it was so much shorter than I think we all thought it was going to be. Every once in a while now, sure, still, you're walking in Walmart, you see a $5 copy of the movie About Time, and you think, hey, that movie's fucking great, I'm going to buy that, but it's very scattershot. There are movies that are in my top 10 of all time that I don't own a copy of because they came out after 2011. But the majority of the collection, the before 2011 stuff, it's wide-ranging. It's not particularly curated. I've got stuff up there like that George Clooney movie, The Descendants, which was a good movie, but not something that you would own now. It's the kind of thing that maybe you'd keep in your queue on Netflix even after you'd already seen it, because you have some vague idea in your head that you might watch it again someday. A couple years ago, when you had that vague idea, you bought it. Basically, you paid $15 to $20 for the privilege of not having to seek it out in the back rows of Blockbuster, should the desire ever strike you. It really does cut off, too. I mean, I have 7 of 8 Harry Potter movies on DVD. I didn't even feel the need to complete the collection. It's like fucking Pompeii. There was no sort of conclusion. It just stopped. Buying that DVD of About Time was just one last little gesture with my fingers before the lava covered the rest of me. I've got DVDs upstairs in that cabinet that I've never even seen, like The Diving Bell and the Butterfly. And I've got movies like Broken Flowers, Run Lola Run, Michael Clayton. Couldn't tell you shit about a lot of them. I remember the last shot from Michael Clayton, when he's like sitting in that car and just his face. I don't remember what is affecting his face. Was there a horse on fire at some point in Michael Clayton? I don't remember that movie. I've got all the Judd Apatow movies up to and including Funny People, and I think I just bought that for the DVD extras. Judd Apatow was great at that, and now that part of his talent has to go elsewhere, right? I mean, the line-o-ramas and the gag reels and everything, what do they do now? What happens to a DVD extra deferred? Does it go to YouTube? Does it end up on some kind of fucking digital download package that nobody can understand or figure out how to get to? I also have like 6 seasons of Weeds on DVD, which just fucking infuriates me to even look at. And I'm sure somewhere in the back, too, are buried a couple of seasons of Dexter. Do you remember before, the era right before peak TV, when we thought TV was getting good, but it wasn't yet? What a dark time. But speaking of dark time, I mean, I've also got DVDs of Mad Men because back in the day, that was the only way I could watch that show. I had to wait for the seasons to end and then I would buy the box sets. What kind of fucking caveman was I? How did I ever survive?
And my other problem is that, you know, when it comes to things that are like, when it comes to spoilers, I am the kind of person who is slightly inclined to like, I'll come very close to just looking it up, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'll go out in search of spoilers and then kind of pull myself back from the cliff.
Oh yeah, scroll down Facebook a little bit, but stop scrolling. No one, I'm getting greedy. Let's stop this now. Yeah, I do that a little bit too. It's kind of exciting. A little bit of epinephrine building up in the body, you know.
Maybe that's why I'm doing it. But I find that I do it the most with like The Walking Dead, in part because I fucking hate The Walking Dead and I watch every episode. I watch every episode of that show, and I hate it.
We have to check to see if you still hate it.
Yeah,
that's reasonable.
So, and I'm usually watching it the next day because I'm a millennial fucking cord cutter. I'm not watching shit when it broadcasts.
Dude.
So I see, I'll look on Twitter the next morning and I'll see like something that happened with The Walking Dead. And I'll be like, maybe click. And I'll like read the beginning of the article and then I'll be like, no, you know what, I'll wait. And then sometimes I'll just be like, yeah, sure, who died? Let me find out.
Yeah, why not?
Oftentimes you know, though, because like if you follow, which I've tried to stop following pop culture blogs on Twitter anyway, just because it makes me a better person to not follow them. But what they do always is they'll say, we interviewed the actor who plays this character on the life of their character. And then it's like, oh, hey, I wonder if that life's over.
Thank you. Great.
I had the really fancy forehead VCR so I could put stuff in slow-mo so that like when my friend Steve jumped off the Rite Aid steps and wiped out and broke his skateboard, I could like put it in super slow-mo, then
That's
like
great.
reversed it, the skateboard comes back together, he shoots back up the stairs.
Boom. Skate videos are fun. I was definitely a big skateboarder when I was a kid, when I was like middle school.
Yeah. Were you good?
I was pretty okay.
Yeah.
I was doing I could do the double kickflips consistently. Like the 360 flip, last thing I learned really. Well, that was the last technical trick I learned. Yeah, it's about where it was.
That's pretty good. I was never a good
fun.
skateboarder at all. I eventually got a longboard because I had the camera.
I had one too.
So I became the official cameraman of the skateboarding people. I have a bunch of old VHS tapes somewhere from all that stuff, but I have not seen it in a long time. And I probably don't want to.
It's funny, like, what the tiniest, like, little age differences will do to what you did when you were younger. Like, I was just old enough that I used digital pretty much the whole time. Just you know. I had cassettes and stuff, you know, when I was younger, listening to music. I had a JVC recorder with a tape, but very tiny amount of time, and it was really my mom's. I mean, it was, I kind of just missed it.
My first camera was like a shoulder mount VHS thing.
Oh, wow.
Which I shot a Blair Witch parody with, and then broke the camera making the Blair Witch parody. It was my dad's girlfriend's camera. It wasn't a big deal. And then, but yeah, most of the first like 3 or 4 cameras I had were not digital.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's really neat.
It's really weird to think about how much analog shit we just lost, you know?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I definitely am. I'm one of the last generations to remember, like, the first, you know, when we got our first DVD player. My dad walked into our basement, like, that was attached to our garage, and he, like, had this silver, like, 2-disc DVD case. It was like Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
I was going to ask.
So good. So that was our first DVD. And I remember thinking to myself, like, what the fuck? It didn't rewind. It just went back to the beginning. What the fuck? It didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
I didn't get it. Digital was like, what?
My first DVD was the movie Road Trip with Tom Green.
Yeah. That's a great one. Oh, man.
Cool.
Tom Green. He is such an interesting person. I can't believe he's just still doing it. He's just online now, just doing it.
He is?
Pretty sure he has like a talk show thing online.
Wow.
Yeah, or he did for a while there, like the past couple of years, at least recently.
Yeah, when someone goes back and writes the book of like digital, you know, transition, Tom Green might be an interesting figure because he started on public access and he got onto MTV by public access, and that
internet now.
That can't have, and now he transitioned back to the internet basically, but that can't have happened. He had to be the last person plucked from anywhere other than the internet, you know?
Probably, yeah.
Public access to MTV. Well, probably there were like tapes of him circulating, you know? Like that's how a lot of shit happens. I remember being so amazed listening to an interview with Mike Judge, who created Beavis and Butthead, who basically just said he just sent like VHS tapes to SNL and they would put it on. And it's like, what the hell world is this?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
That you could just send a VHS tape to Saturday Night Live and they would just show your cartoon? Are you kidding me?
How casual was the past? Like, that's what I keep thinking. Like, it's nuts.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Like, oh yeah, we used to, when we did that dangerous thing, it was just really dangerous. That's how it was when we were younger. Like, everything you can think of. I thought about this too recently with driving and how dangerous that is still in 2016. We're going to be explaining to our grandchildren, like, well, we used to get around in these cars and they'd have these rubber wheels and they rolled on the concrete slab called the road and the interstate, whatever. And they'd be like, oh, then how'd you keep from hitting each other? That seems insanely dangerous. Oh, we painted a line on the ground. It's fine.
I was driving up to that funeral the other day. Somebody had their garage door open, and I looked in. I took notice of it because our garage is almost empty of all the deconstruction debris now. So, you know, the final form of the garage has to be determined at some point. Now that it's not a dumpster, what will it be? So I'm looking for ideas. And when I look at people's houses, I notice the roof, because I was taught to notice the roof when I was looking for a house. So now I always notice. And it all got me thinking about the technology of my own brain, how it changes the same way external technology changes. Basically, I'm doing like the reverse logic of an intelligent design proponent, but forward. There's so much that I notice now that I didn't before. So I have to wonder also, you know, what am I no longer noticing? What have I lost? Because, you know, when I switched from editing on VCRs to computers, I didn't just lose charm. I also lost, you know, a whole way of thinking, a whole system of problem solving. And, you know, around that time, I was always afraid that emotionally, someday I would change. That's always been a fear of mine. I guess I didn't realize that what I would gain would be so much better. You know, I'm okay with it now. I'm okay with changes in both internal and external technology. I've got a lot going on lately. That funeral yesterday, it was not an anomaly. And after the service, I got to sit down with my father and just talk to him for like 2 hours at a table. It's probably the longest we've ever just sat there and talked to each other in our lives. And it felt kind of heavy, but not in a bad way. what I felt like afterwards when I was driving home is, like, my mind is getting ready for things. The sort of things that I have to be able to handle now. And after the funeral and before I saw my dad, I talked to an old friend, Sam, who said, you know, we've done a lousy job of keeping in touch with each other. And I said, yeah, we have to do better. And it didn't feel like a platitude. You know, for the first time in my life, having a conversation like that didn't feel perfunctory. It felt very real because we were both surrounded there by death and loss. And we're both about to go through, like, this software update. And it felt like we both got it, or we were at least both beginning to get it. So if you're listening to me, if you're younger than me and you're listening to this podcast, and earlier you were laughing at me being like, Blu-rays never got a fair shake. What are these Snapchats that teens are sexting at each other? Maybe now you have no idea what I'm talking about. Maybe you do. I hope you don't. I hope it's like I'm texting you emojis from an iPhone 9, and you don't have that emoji keyboard yet, so you're just seeing mostly like squares and alien faces. I can't really convey to you how this particular era in one's life feels, and why it's so heavy, but also so good, and right, and important. It doesn't matter, though. It doesn't matter that you can't understand what I'm talking about, because when you have to know, you will. Now I'm really starting to sound like some kind of evangelist, like this is the intelligent design of emotional architecture. Today's episode of The Last Podcast featured the voices of Max Wallace, Christy Little, Jon Pernisek, and Mary Akemon. It featured music from my middle school bands, Voice Crack and Mercutio. Probably going to be a couple weeks before we come back with some more episodes. Got to do some more interviews, got to do some more preparation. It's not the end of the season. This is the end of season 2.0. We'll be back with season 2.5 fairly soon. Maybe a couple little one-off things in between.
Just like, hang on, bump this.
Thanks for listening.
Oh yeah, I cut the power. Yeah. Okay, go for it.
So you're gonna do